Good evening, doctors. So I will report on family lifeline, family life cycle, and levels of involvement. For our objective is to discuss these three. So we'll start with the family lifeline. Summarizes the history of the significant experiences of the patient or family over a period of time in chronological order. So this includes how the family has coped with the events and also identifies the factors that may affect the health of the family. So this is useful when anticipating a long-term illness. It also determines the presence of difficult caregiving, could also identify an adherence to treatment strategies, and also this think of family and can check if there's a relationship for the abnormal behavior in a child, inappropriate behavior in the antenatal or and postpartum period, an abuse on drug or alcohol, and even evidence of sexual or physical abuse. So this is an example of the family lifeline where different life events are listed in chronological order, and the severity of the problem can be also identified. And also another one, so uh, also in chronological order. So okay, and then for the next one, just for the family life cycle. This is the description of family dynamics through clearly defined stages of development. It provides also a predictable and chronological sequence in events in the family's life, and which can be also related to clinical events and to the health maintenance of family members. So this helps the doctor to form the appropriate hypothesis about the problems experienced by patients at a particular stage. So there's two order changes in the family life cycle. So the first order change is the highlights the view that the central underlying process to be negotiated is the expansion, contraction, realignment of the relationship system to support the entry, exit, and development of family members in a functional way. So the second one is the second order change. So shifts involved in entering and proceeding through the next stage cycle. So for the family life cycle, so these are the cycle is the unattached young adult. Next, the newly married couple. Next is the family with young children. The next one is the family with adolescent. The next one is launching family, and another one is the family in later years. So firstly, in the unattached young adult, uh, here we select way of life and partner in life, and also the differentiate self to family and origin. It's also development of intimate peer relationship, and also an establishment of self in respect to work and financial independence. So we also have this emotional process of transition, which is the accepting the parent and parent upstream differentiation. So for the next one, the newly married couple, it's the joining of families through marriage. So this forms the marriage and realigns the relationship with extended families and friends, including also the spouse. And the emotional process of transition is the commitment to the new system of being married. For the next one, the family with young children begins with the birth of the first child. This is accepting marital system to make space for the children and taking on parenting roles. This also realigns relationships with extended families, including the parents and the grandparents role. And the emotional process of transition is the accepting new members into system. So that's it. And for the family with adolescent, this shifts the parent-child relationship to allow adolescent to move in and out and refocus on the midlife marital and career issues, and beginning shift towards caring for older generation. So the emotional process of transition is the increasing flexibility of boundaries to include children's independence. For the launching family, the first child where becomes the young adult and leaving home and ends when the last child leaves his or her family. And this is the renegotiation of marital system as dyad, and the development of adult to adult relationship between parents and their grown children. It also the realignment of relationship to include in-laws and grandchildren, and also dealing with disabilities and deaths of parents and grandparents. So the process of transition is accepting multitudes of entries and exits into family system. And the family in later years. So this is maintaining own or couple functioning and interest in phase of physiologic decline and exploration of new familial and social options and support for more central role of middle generation. During the cycle also is the elderly accepts the shifting of the generational roles. The children will create families of their own and be responsible of their own life decision and play less active roles in the families since they are outside of the family and less active role in the family circle where they grew up. So the emotional process of transition is the accepting the shifting of generational goals. So these are the six family cycle. And lastly, for the levels of involvement, this is essential to know how far they can go in assessing family dynamics in their relationship to healthcare. So how deep the family physician wants to be involved in his or her patient's family. So in the Philippines, the best to be at least level 3 involved. So these are the five levels of involvement. Level one is the minimal emphasis on the delivery of healthcare. So at this level, this usually considering the dealing with families is necessary only for practical and medical legal reasons. Usually, this is chosen by physicians with a busy clinical practice owing to time pressure. And usually, this only or focuses principally on the biomedical problems. On the level two, this is the ongoing medical information and advice. Works collaboratively with patients and families and understand the triangular nature of the patient, doctor, and family relationship. So for the level three also, so for the feelings and support, or providing emotional support, the physician already understand the normal family development and how the families react to stress. And for the level four, assessment of family dysfunction and provision of intervention, most common involvement among patients who are alcohol and drug abusers. And also the level five is the family therapy, wherein this level is the planning on organized therapeutic approach to bring about a major changes in the family system and providing a therapy that requires extensive training and supervision beyond the scope of family medicine. So for this one, the levels of involvement actually I've read in our book is to be a certified family physician, they should be capable of at least level three intervention. And on the levels for the diplomates, on the other hand, is be capable of at least level four family counseling model. So uh, level three and level four. So for the next one, Dr. Fair will follow for the report.
Share screen. Can everybody see my slides?
Yes po.
Okay po. Hello, good evening everybody po. Uh, I'm tasked to discuss about the family draft and family cycle and echo map po. Um, the next slide. Okay. So I'm tasked to report about the family draft and family circle and echo map. Okay. Another means of assessment in understanding the family and to aid them in evaluating the impact of illness on a person and on his her role in the family is the utilization of other assessment tools to determine the family's function. Okay. Uh, Draft means a draw a family test. No? This is a simple and practical and cost effective tool for assessing family functions that can be administered individually or in a group test, no? Members of the family are given the opportunity to express oneself and consequently reveal innate difficulties within the family system. Okay. Now, it is useful in the following reasons. No? Um, if we have evasive and guarded patients, who are more likely to reveal their underlying traits because the subjects are more intellectually aware of what they may reveal through verbal communication. No? The unconscious level, which represents adulterated basic needs, can be expressed through drawing. No? Drawings are the first to show incipient psychopathology and the last to lose the signs of illness after patient recovery. It tells a lot about the patient's feelings, no? Relationships they have with people around, self-esteem, and intellectual problems, no? A very informative method of getting to know the patient, especially when working with kids. No, this is an example of a drawing of a child, no, uh, who was tasked to draw her feelings, her relationship with members of the family. No. This 8-year-old girl who participated in a support group for children affected by domestic violence, no, sponsored by the Cedar Valley Friends of the Family. One cannot escape sensing this child's unhappiness. If you see the frown that she drew on her little face, clearly sets the mood. No, however, the upside down rainbow is perhaps the most significant message. No, so usually, generally, when we think of rainbows, no, it's a happy reminder or of hope for the future. So in this simple drawing, no, the little girl innocently but quite vividly showed how she feels. Okay. Okay. Now, usually this draft is interpreted, no, by a psychologist based on the configuration of the mother, father, and siblings, no, quality of lines, no, significant details such as omission of body parts, no, provides clues, psychological issues within the family system, no. So usually, di ba, when in the preschool and adolescent stage, no, usually when we ask uh, our these kids to draw a body or a human person, usually dapat kompleto na siya by that age ng elementary, no? So, dapat kompleto na dapat meron na siyang eyebrows, may ilong, may tenga, may bibig, kompleto yung mga daliri. No? So, sometimes kapag kunyari, medyo upset yung family member, these things can be omitted. No? It shows a deeper sense of intellectual subconsciousness of how he or she feels about the family member. Okay. So the next tool is the family circle. No. So usually the family physician draws a large circle, so, well, which represents now the family. Now, the patient is now asked to draw variable-sized circles within or outside the big circle, no, that either touch each other or are far apart. No? So the patient will then explain the diagram. Okay. So it is a brief graphic method for disclosing, gathering, and discussing family dynamics as discussed by one or more family members are often used in individuals, but they can be applied to small groups. You know? So through this tool, one can assess openness, boundaries, support, function, triangulation, and interdependence in the family. No? Difficulty of interpretation and standardization poses as a disadvantage. No? So this is just an example sa group namin in the Friday group. No? So sa group namin, no, kaming lima, no, On my point of view, no, why am I outside? It's because ako yung pinakamatanda. So in my point of view, yung kumbaga laos na. Sad to say, puro bagets yung mga kasama ko. So, yun yung aking perception sa grupo ko. Okay. Pagdating naman ng Monday group, joke lang Brian na ikaw naman yung nasa labas. Ang toxic mo kasi. Next is the echo map. Okay. An echo map is a pictorial representation that shows all of the systems at play in an individual's life. No? These ecological maps or eco maps were developed by Hartman in 1975 as a means of depicting the ecological system that encompasses a family or an individual. No? It illustrates three separate dimensions for each connection: strength, impact, and quality. When you say strength, this can be weak, tenuous, uncertain, strong. No? So this will be represented in certain lines, which I will be showing later in the symbols. No? Impact, which can be either non-draining or resources or energy, providing resources or energy. As for quality, it can be stressful or not stressful. Its purpose is primarily to support the classification of family needs and decision making about potential interventions. No? It creates share awareness of the family's significant connections, constructive or destructive influences those connections may be having. So usually the symbols at the center of the echo map is the client. No? This can either be a family or an individual. No? They are depicted in the center of the circle. Family connections are shown. There are also connections from all of the relevant systems that are at play in the client's life. So later I will be showing what these relevant systems that can be pertinent in the client's life, where it can be education, social support, other family members. So primarily, these echo maps are necessary and valuable as a part of family assessment because it primarily enables a structured, consistent process for gathering specific, valuable information related to the current state of a family or individual being assessed. No? It also supports the engagement of the family in a dialogue. No? It also as well identifies and illustrates strengths that can build upon and weaknesses that can be addressed. No? It also summarizes complex data and information into a visual, easy to see, and understandable format to support understanding and planning. No? It allows objective evaluation of progress. Workers can observe impact of interventions both on the family and other elements of their environment. No? So primarily, these systems are connected to either individuals or the entire circle by line. No? Thicker, darker lines means a stronger relationship, while curvy or red line means that the system is a stressful relationship. Arrows pointing to the client mean that the system primarily influences the client. Arrows pointing to the system mean that the client primarily influences the system. Now, arrows pointing both direction depicts a two-directional flow of influence. So this is an example of those lines that we were depicting earlier. No? So this is the person, John, no? And this is the system that's influencing education. So uh, arrow pointing towards education. represented by an arrow going to the education. There's a weak connection, it can be either draining energy, the resources, it's not stressful. While the system education on the other side that's pointing to John, no, represents a strong connection, providing energy resources or not stressful. No? Now, as stated earlier, if you have curvy lines, no, uh, the system uh, represents primarily a weak connection. It can have no impact on energy resources or it can be stressful. Now, these dotted lines represents primarily a tenuous or uncertain connection of the system, which can either be not stressful or providing energy or resources. So primarily, these are the symbols that is being utilized to describe the influence to our family subject or to the family. Now, to better illustrate how to make an echo map, no, we'd like to share a short video on how it's done.
In this video, we will explain how to make an eco map. An eco map is a diagram showing the social and personal relationships of an individual. As we make an eco map, we put the parent or child in the center and visually display the key relationships they have. We talk with parents and children from a strength-based and person-centered perspective, forming a relationship in which we work together to empower the parent or child. The eco map shows the important nurturing or conflict-laden connections between the family and the world. It demonstrates the flow of resources or lack thereof. As an assessment tool, an eco map can be helpful in determining the family's strengths, resources, needs, and deficits. It helps the parents and children to understand the various systems with which they interact, and it gives us the opportunity to encourage them to build upon their network if necessary. For example, we will make an eco map for Michelle, the author's daughter, a healthy 17-year-old teenager. But before we start with the example, let's explore what resources people usually have. When we think about supports, we can divide them into informal and formal supports. Informal supports are family members and friends, people who don't get paid to be with us. On the other end are formal supports. We think about school, intervention programs, doctors, CPS, and CASA. Formal supports are assigned to work with us. They often get paid to do so. Between the formal and informal supports, there are the institutions we choose to be involved with. Examples are the workplace, clubs, faith organizations, and neighbors. That is where we meet people because we are part of the same group. When we draw an eco map, we look at all these realms of life to find support for the parent or child. Let's now see what Michelle's eco map looks like, what formal and informal support she has, what organizations she is part of, and who she is acquainted with at each of these organizations. We start by putting the person we interview in the middle of the paper and add some empty circles to get it started. A good first question to ask is, who is important in your life? Michelle will tell you about her parents, sisters, and boyfriend. When we ask Michelle where she spends most of her time, she will tell you she spends most of her time at school. We can ask her who important teachers are and who she spends time with at school. She has a friend at school she also meets outside of school. A good next question is, what groups, activities, or memberships do you hold or belong to? Michelle will then go into a long conversation that she is an activist and is a member of several activist groups, and who she knows there, that she is a rock climber and who her favorite coach is and who her climbing friends are. She also tells you she goes to church and a church group, but she isn't close with anyone there. Since we cannot put in a person's name for her church activities, we just put church in the circle. This is a place she meets people and could possibly build on her support network. Asking Michelle about her neighbors, she'll tell you that she has a neighbor whom she could contact in case of emergency. Can the parent or youth you interview name an emergency contact?
Yeah, I'm sorry na disconnect po ako.
Kailangan sa gawa niya.
Sorry po na disconnect po. In continuation po dun sa video presentation
In
lang
this
po.
video,
Ano ko na po.
of these relationships.
Okay.
In this video,
Sorry. Ay, sorry po. Masyadong...
In this video, we will explain on the ethical and informal time with, but she has a neighbor whom she could contact in case of emergency. Can the parent or youth you interview name an emergency contact? As a last question, we verify if the diagram is complete. Is there anyone missing? Are there any other groups or places you go to during the week? Michelle will tell you that she goes to vision therapy once a week to learn to focus better. Now we have identified whom Michelle spends time with. We'll review what questions we've asked to get here, and then we'll see how she relates to everyone. Here are some questions you may want to ask to build the eco map. The next step is to explore the quality of these relationships. Relationships might be depicted as close or distant, strong or weak, one-sided or mutual.
Dr.
Well, love
SP,
her
Yes, Doc.
parents and
wala atang naka-share screen.
Ay, sorry po. Sorry po.
Okay.
Sorry
Thank
po.
you.
Sorry po.
as she receives and gives.
Mm. Nakita na po.
Yes po.
Sorry po. Okay. Okay.
Here are some questions you may want to ask to build the eco map. Emergency. Can the parent or youth you interview name an emergency contact? As a last question, we verify if the diagram is complete. Is there anyone missing? Are there any other groups or places you go to during the week? Michelle will tell you that she goes to vision therapy once a week to learn to focus better. Now we have identified whom Michelle spends time with. We'll review what questions we've asked to get here, and then we'll see how she relates to everyone. Here are some questions you may want to ask to build the eco map. The next step is to explore the quality of these relationships. Relationships might be depicted as close or distant, strong or weak, one-sided or mutual. Michelle loves her parents and thickens the line between herself and her parents. The arrows point both ways as she receives and gives love. She also loves her sisters, her boyfriend, and other friends, and identifies these relationships as reciprocal. Michelle mainly receives energy from her rock climbing coach, her teacher in school, and her vision therapist. So the arrow points towards Michelle, but not the other way. Michelle and her school counselor argue a lot. This relationship is a strenuous one. We put stripes to show the relationship is taxing. The relationship with the neighbors is not very active, but it gives Michelle peace of mind to have someone to go to in case of a fire or other pressing things. The dashed line shows the relationship, although significant, is tenuous. If the parents or youth you interview give a lot of energy to everyone, but don't receive much back, there is not a balance and it becomes draining. Or if the interviewee receives mostly energy, but is not giving much back, we can likewise be aware of the impacts this could have. As you can see, an eco map gives you a good overview of the dynamics of someone's relationships. It shows you what groups your individual belongs to, what support they have within each group, and where there is a possibility to grow the support network. It creates a meaningful dialogue between volunteer or caseworker and parent or child. Making an eco map together will give you the opportunity to gain understanding of the family's social environment and evaluate connections together. We put a date on the map. Over time, relationships will change. If we give Michelle strategies on how to work with her counselor and how to make friends at church, We have empowered her, and maybe next time we make an eco map with her, it will show. We hope you have enjoyed watching this video. We wish you success in learning more about the children and families you work with. Keep looking for how to reconnect the children with their relatives and other emotional supports. Remember that parents need support as well. Feel free to subscribe to my channel and watch other videos that might be useful for you or your work. Thank you for all you do. In this video,
Thank you. That ends my presentation po.
Thank you, Dr. SP, Dr. Sangguyo, and Dr. Gancoangco for the lecture. I think all the family assessment tools have been covered naman, no? And I hope that with this lecture, you were able to appreciate the importance of these family assessment tools in our practice. No? The reason kung bakit natin sila ginagawa, hindi lang natin sila ginagawa kaliwat kanan na without any purpose. So dapat alam mo yung purpose mo kung bakit mo siya gagawin. Among these family assessment tools, I think the most useful, or the most frequently used is the genogram. So having said that, I hope more time was spent in discussing this assessment tool. So sana naging mas specific tayo na like paano gawin yung genogram. No? Sana may concrete example na pinakita. And sana na-discuss specifically kung ano yung mga standard symbols. No? Kasi yung mga standard symbols dapat memorize natin. And kung ano yung contents ng isang genogram, of which there are 9. So number 1, yung pangalan at edad ng lahat ng family members. Number 2, yung exact date of birth nila, marriage, separation, divorce, death. Number 3, dapat 3 generation sila. Tapos, number 4, kung ano yung mga illnesses ng bawat miyembro ng pamilya. Number 5, dapat yung firstborn sinusulat sa kaliwa, sequentially, down the line, papuntang right, yung pinakabata. Tapos, i-indicate mo doon sino yung nakatira sa isang household. And of course, the names of the 2 families along with the addresses. Tapos yung informant, saka yung the date the genogram was generated. And of course, you indicate there kung sino yung index patient. Appreciate ko yung examples ni Dr. SP. No? Any questions or any comments from the group?
Doc Tai, I agree nga dun sa genogram kasi I was expecting na may example tsaka yun nga mas detail. Like, kung titingnan nyo, parang napakasimple nung bakit yung importante yung date. Lalo na kung when nagawa yung genogram. Ano ba yung significance for our dear residents? Bakit importante yung date kung kailan nagawa yung genogram? Kung titingnan mo, parang napaka-menial na details pero they actually matter. sa mga residents, why do you think necessary yung date na kung kailan na-accomplish yung genogram? Anybody from the residents?
Kay Doktora.
Yes, sir.
Important po kasi yung date. Kasi in time, nagbabago yung age, nagbabago yung
Yes.
year. So magdedepende kung anong date yon, kung significant ay kung updated pa ba yung mga ages ng mga members na nasa Gino.
Yes, thank you, Doc Josser. And also, pati yung members ng household, di ba, nagbabago. O kaya, kung couple yan, minsan maghihiwalay yung couple. Kasi ako, personally, I saw the importance of this. Meron naging patient sa ER na for intubation. Nandun yung wife, but the wife cannot decide and hindi siya makapag-sign ng disposition niya. Later to find out, kahit siya yung wife, siya yung legal wife, the husband has been living with another partner for some time na pala, for how many years. Ang nagkataon lang, hindi makontak itong partner ni husband, kaya si wife yung unang natawagan. Pero ang parang itong si wife hinihintay niyang mag-decide itong si partner. I mean, simple things as that. If you have the genogram, you get to understand bakit kung tutusin dapat si wife na yung magde-decide, though legally si wife pa rin, pero we will understand yung dynamics din ng family. No, kaya very important yung lahat ng minention din na details ni Doc Tyrell. Kasi even yung paglalagay ng sequential, remember dati may nag-present sa inyo na nalito tayo kasi mali lang yung sequential na pagkakalagay ng mga siblings. Tapos minsan ang lilitaw na parang mag-partner, kung titingnan mo, kala mo yung siblings ay yung pala, nagkamali
Magkapatid
lang.
pala.
Magkapatid pala. Nangyari na yan nung minsan may nag-present. Tapos yung generation din, di ba? Yung at least 3 generation. So that is very important, yung mga details na ganun. Tapos pati dun sa family map, I was expecting sana na nabigyan ng explanation yung mga symbols ng
Yes,
family.
symbols.
Can somebody from the group dun sa family map, halimbawa, ano yung ibig sabihin ng clear boundaries? Though alam natin yung dysfunctional, functional, enmesh or over-involved, coalition. Pero ano yung difference nung clear, rigid, at saka diffused? Anybody from the group? Parang wala. Sige ha, ganito yung, actually ito naintindihan ko lang siya nung nagre-review kami for diplomate. But from sa mga kasama naming consultants at saka mentors, if you would like to clarify more, what I understand, kapag clear boundaries ang sinasabi mo, like halimbawa kung magkapatid yan, siblings yan, tapos yung isa may anak, kapag clear boundaries, so clear na yung mother at saka yung uncle o aunt, clear yung roles nila, no? So walang nag-overstep dun sa roles nila. Tapos pero halimbawa si mother need yan ng assistance from sa mga siblings niya, no?
Financial support.
Oo, yes, lalo na sa halimbawa sa anak niya,
Yes.
they can help. So clear, pero at the end of the day, clear pa rin na who is in authority, kung sino pa rin ang mother, siya pa rin magdidesisyon. Pag rigid boundaries, halimbawa sa mga parents natin, pag pag father mo siya o mother mo siya, ganun lang talaga ang role niya. Hindi siya pwedeng maging friend, hindi siya pwedeng um, na yun malalapitan mo. Yun yung rigid boundaries. Okay? Pag diffuse boundaries, ito na yung mga may overstepping ng roles or responsibilities. Halimbawa sa ER, nangyayari sa atin, minsan nakala natin yun yung parent, tapos malalaman natin uncle lang pala or auntie, yun yung diffuse boundaries, okay? That's how I understood it nung inexplain sa amin nung nagre-review kami. But if other consultants or other mentors would want to expound or correct, okay po, okay lang po.
I agree, Dr. Goldie.
Yes, kasi I was hoping na kanina, kasi very important itong assessment tools. So, lalo na itong genogram, I was expecting na naging detail pa. But in general, thank you for your reports. They were well presented. And also same likewise, I appreciated yung examples ni Dr. SP.
Doktora, in addition po dun sa, if I may po, no? Regarding po sa family map, regarding sa coalitions, no? Diba, it's very important to, when we go and assess, to determine kung sino yung therapeutic ally natin for our patients, no?
Yes, very good point.
We look for an existing coalition with the patient to a certain family member para matulungan natin na there's a continuity of care, especially if there is a chronic illness that or a debilitating illness that is at hand sa patient, like yung mga stroke patient natin, sino talaga yung mag-aalaga or hiwalay sa asawa, o sino ba yon, no? So, primarily, sino ba yung kanyang pwede nating malapitan? So, these are the people that we need to find out, no? So, kung sino yung decision maker, so sino yung yun ang ating ina-identify po. Yun lang po. Thank you po.
Yes, very good point, Dr. SP.
Also, if I may add, dun sa echo map, di ba pwedeng hindi naman kahit hindi yung patient yung nasa center, pwedeng yung family yung nasa center?
Yes, Doc.
Yeah.
Kahit hindi
Okay.
po
Tapos
patient.
yung mga resources like yung school, yung
Yes,
church,
Doc. Yes, Doc.
sila
Opo.
yun. So, yun. So, dapat alam natin kung kailan natin kailangan gamitin yung tool. Like for example, ang hanap natin is the family structure. No? Anong gagamitin natin?
Genogram.
Okay. Kung yung gusto nating malaman kung functional or dysfunctional yung family, what would be used?
Either the family map or the APGAR, the scheme.
APGAR.
APGAR, yeah.
Kapag resources?
Yung screen. Resources. Social cultural, yes, Doc. Yung screen.
Yun. Any more comments po?
Doc, naalala ko lang, dun sa
Any
family
suggestion?
APGAR, just remember, kasi assessment siya ng parang dysfunctionality. Though
Yeah.
it will be dependent dun sa view from the one answering the APGAR.
Yes.
So kaya minsan 'di ba ang ginagawa, ang advice natin sana if you could ask also the other members of the family, kasi halimbawa si patient mismo parang ang baba ng APGAR niya, pero that is from his point of view, pero titingnan mo rin kung ano yung point of view ng other members of the family, or otherwise mataas ang score niya sa kanya, akala niya very functional yung pero may ibang members pala ng family, iba yung perception nila. So, the APGAR is based on the perception on yung kung sino yung gumagawa ng family APGAR.
Yeah. Okay. May mga tanong po ba? Siguro in the future pwede tayong manghingi ng examples, no? Kahit yung present lang natin yung individual individual genogram ng families natin.
Yes,
No?
maganda po yun.
And we'll pick the examples or ano na lang, kahit hindi naman lahat. Pero let us ask everyone to prepare a genogram of their own families. Okay lang ba?
Yes po.
Yes po, Doc.
Anyway, wala naman akong agenda for today. No. Yun lang yung regarding dun sa COVID wards natin, no, yung expansion ulit. So we will be yung Station 1 and Station 2 na dating medicine and surgery wards. So magiging COVID wards ulit. So still in the process of being prepared. So malamang next week na yon mabubuksan. And then yung vaccination na nangyayari sa CCA ngayon, they hope to finish it by tomorrow or Sunday. And nakapagsweldo naman na yung iba.
Sa DM po, Doc, okay na po.
Sige. Buti naman. Your DTRs for March, please, para mabilis na magawa yung payroll niya. Okay. Can anyone take the picture? Sino naka-laptop?
Okay. 1, 2, 3, cheese. Yan. Okay. Isa pa po. 1, 2, 3. Smile. Thank you po. Salamat po.
Thank you, SP. Sige, may gusto ba kayong pag-usapan? Wala muna tayong meeting next week. Good Friday yata yun. Tama ba? Okay, good night.
Okay, Doc. Good night.
Good night, Doc. Bye, Doc.
Good night, everybody. Thank
Good
you
night,
po.
everyone.
Good night
Good night po.
po.
Good
Salamat
night.
po.
Thank you po.
Ingat po.